If you ever drive past exit 9 on Highway 63 after midnight, don't stop. Especially not at the dimly lit Red Pine Motel with the flickering neon sign. They say it's always open and the rooms are always ready. But once you're inside, the world forgets you ever existed. Asterisk, I never planned on working the night shift. Not at some rundown roadside motel buried in the woods of Northern Oregon. But when you're broke, jobless, and running from your past, you take what you can get. The Red Pine Motel offered cash under the table, a free room to sleep in during the day, and no questions asked. That last part should have been a red flag. I arrived just before sundown, the air thick with pine sap and that strange hush that only deep forests carry, like the trees are holding their breath. The motel sat crookedly off the highway, half swallowed by the forest. Its neon sign blinked erratically. RE_Pine M_Tel VA_NCY. The missing letters only added to the sense that something here had long gone wrong and no one had bothered to fix it. Behind the front desk sat an old man named Clyde. His voice was gravel wrapped in molasses, and his eyes looked like they'd seen every nightmare this place could offer. He handed me the keys to the lobby office and muttered something I didn't catch at first. When I asked him to repeat it, he leaned in and whispered, "Don't let him talk too long. They'll try to convince you they're still alive." I laughed, thinking he was trying to scare the new guy. He didn't laugh back. That first night, I had 3 check-ins, all of them strange in their own way. The first was a family of 4, but I swear only the mother spoke. The kids stared blankly ahead, and the father just nodded. Their eyes were glossy, like wax figures. I handed them room 4's key and watched as they shuffled away without a word. Next was a businessman in a damp trench coat, smelling like old earth. He didn't sign the guest book, just slid a $100 bill across the counter and asked for a quiet room. I gave him room 7. The third was a woman in a long black dress, soaking wet despite there being no rain outside. Her eyes were wild, darting around the lobby like something was following her. She clutched my hand when I passed her the key, whispering, "Don't listen when they knock. Just don't." By 3 a.m., the motel had gone dead silent. No TV sounds, no water running, no footsteps above me. I walked the hallways, flashlight in hand, checking each room door. Most were locked, but when I reached room 6, the doorknob was ice cold and vibrating gently under my touch. There was no room 6 in the logbook. I stood there for a while, listening. No voices, no breathing, just a faint scratching. That was the first night I broke the rule. I leaned in close to the door and whispered, "Hello." A whisper came back immediately, mimicking my tone. "Hello." I staggered back and the door creaked open half an inch on its own. Inside, pitch black. I slammed it shut and ran back to the lobby, heart in my throat. I stayed behind the desk until morning light filtered through the grimy front window. When I checked the hallway, again at sunrise, room 6's door was gone, completely sealed over, like it never existed. Clyde returned that morning with a black coffee and a blank look. I told him everything, about the whispers, the missing room, the guest who didn't blink. He listened quietly, then nodded. "Takes most people a week to get your first call," he said. "You're fast." "That's bad." "Call." I asked. He pointed to the old rotary phone bolted to the front desk. "They'll start calling, begging, screaming. Don't answer it between 2:59 and 3:01. Ever." I laughed again. He still didn't. That afternoon, I tried to leave. My car wouldn't start. The engine coughed, sputtered, then died. My phone had no signal. GPS showed me floating in gray space. No roads, no motel, no nothing. I walked to the edge of the highway and watched 3 cars pass me. I waved frantically. None of them saw me. Point 1 didn't even have a driver. The nights got stranger. Sometimes I'd hear children laughing in the ice machine. Sometimes the vending machine dropped candy that hadn't existed in 40 years. Once, I walked past room 9 and saw the door open. Inside was my childhood bedroom, down to the torn Spider-Man poster and the scar on the dresser drawer. Another night, I saw myself standing at the front desk, staring back at me from behind the glass, smiling. The guests kept coming, and none ever left, and one ever checked out. I checked the registry every morning. The names would blur and shift. Sometimes, they were scratched out completely, like they were erased from the world. Then came the man in red, tall, pale, His eyes looked like burnt-out light bulbs. He didn't ask for a room. He just stared at me, then said, "You're the new one. You still remember the outside, don't you?" I didn't respond. "Soon, you won't. That's when you'll start forgetting who you are. Then we'll have a room for you." He walked down the hallway toward room 0. That one didn't exist in the book either. Clyde quit the next day. Said he couldn't keep coming back. That it was my turn now. That he left behind a single note taped to the inside of the desk drawer. Rules for survival. Don't open doors you don't remember checking in. Don't go into room 6. It changes. Never answer the phone at 3 a.m. Don't talk to the man in red. If they start saying your name, run. I didn't sleep that day. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw hallways that bent and impossible. Directions and rooms filled with flickering televisions showing static versions of my life. Guests with my face. Keys with my name. I don't know how long I've been here anymore. Days. Weeks. There's a photo behind the desk now. It wasn't there before. It's me. Smiling. Wearing Clyde's uniform. And I don't remember taking it. It's been 17 days since I started the night shift at the Red Pine Motel. At least, I think it has. Time isn't the same here. I've stopped trusting the clocks. They flicker, jump backward, or loop the same minute 3 times in a row. Sunrise isn't a guarantee either. Some mornings it never comes. Just more darkness draped over the world like a wet, rotting tarp. There's something else now. Something I feel in my bones, in the dead silence between 2:59 and 3:01. Clyde was right. That minute, it isn't real. It's a place. Something uses it like a door. And last night, it came through. I was behind the front desk when the rotary phone rang. I had just checked the time. 3 o'clock exactly. My fingers twitched toward it. On reflex, I had to fight myself, physically restrain my own hand from answering. The ringing wasn't normal. It sounded underwater, warped and wrong, like a scream buried in sand. The lights dimmed with each ring, and the walls seemed to breathe. Then came the smell, burnt hair, mold, and something coppery and hot, like old blood. The ringing stopped on the 7th chime. Silence followed. Deep and unnatural. That's when I heard the footsteps in the hallway. Slow. What did I should have locked the office door, but I didn't. I just stood there, frozen, breathing too fast. The footsteps dragged closer, squelching, against the thin motel carpet. I peeked around the corner and saw nothing. No one. But the hallway was darker than it should have been, like the shadows were thicker. Moving. A knock came at the office door behind me. I turned fast, heart slamming against my ribs. N01. Then I saw it. A small slip of paper shoved under the door. I waited a moment before picking it up, my hands trembling. It read, in perfect typewritten font, "Room 0 is now ready. Keys are in your pocket." I reached down, and my stomach dropped. The key was already there. I never put it there. I wanted to throw it away, burn it even, but my body moved on its own. I was halfway down the hallway before I realized I wasn't thinking. I was following. Room 0 didn't exist. It never had. But the hallway was different now. Longer. Stretching further than it should have. The doors were changing too. Smeared. Names, black tape over numbers, and some doors, just gone, replaced by walls that looked stitched shut. The key in my hand burned cold. The metal hissed softly, like it was breathing. And then, at the very end of the hallway, I saw it. A door with no number. No knob. Just a thin, jagged slit where it had been broken open. Like something tore its way out. Or in. The key turned by itself in my hand. The door opened. Inside was complete blackness. I don't mean unlit. I mean absence. No light touched that space. It was like staring into death itself. I should have turned and run. But the motel didn't let me. The hallway behind me had vanished. Replaced by another door, my own apartment's front door. That door hasn't existed in over a year. I lived there with my fiancée, Rachel. She died, slipped in the shower, hit her head. I found her after 12 hours. I hadn't heard her call for help. And now, there that door was, back in front of me. Exactly how I remembered it. The peeling paint, the bent brass number, even the smudge from the night we moved in, carrying that damned couch. I opened the door and walked into my own memory. Rachel was sitting on the couch, alive, laughing at something on TV. The sitcom's canned audience clapped along. "Hey, babe," she said, turning to me with her crooked little smile, the one I haven't seen in over a year. "You're late. I made pasta." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My mouth went dry. This wasn't real. It felt real. God, it smelled real. The garlic, the lavender candle she always burned, the slight scent of her shampoo as she passed me. I reached out and touched her, warm, solid. You okay? She asked, her brow creasing. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I was choking on the words, on grief, on disbelief. Don't stay too long, she said, suddenly serious. What? She looked me in the eyes. Hers were full of sorrow. This place isn't for you. Not yet. The walls began to shake. Light flickered. A cold wind blew in from nowhere. Rachel began to rot before my eyes. Skin sagged. Hair fell in clumps. Eyes sunk into black sockets. Her smile stayed fixed, frozen in death. The couch split open, revealing mouths. Screaming mouths. All of them mine. I turned and ran. The door was gone. There was only dark. I woke up in the supply closet. Soaking wet. Shivering. The room 0 key was gone. My left arm had a new tattoo. A room number. 13. There is no room 13 at Red Pine Motel. There never has been. I asked Clyde once. He laughed and said, that's where the manager used to live before he disappeared. We sealed it off. You ever find it, don't go in. Now it was burned into my skin. That night, I searched for it. I don't know why. Something was pulling me, urging me forward. I counted each room. 10, 11, 12. Then a blank wall. I pressed my hand against it, and it shivered. With a groan, the drywall peeled away like flesh, revealing a wooden door, chained shut with rusted metal. A massive padlock hung in the center, but the chains pulsed gently, like veins. I heard a whisper from behind the door. You're the manager now. I ran back to the lobby and locked myself in. I thought that was the worst of it. Then the guests started knocking. Each door point one by one. Soft taps at first, then harder, louder, until it sounded like fists pounding from inside every room. The walls trembled. Ceiling tiles cracked. The lights burst, one by one. I checked the registry book. All the names were mine. Every guest had my name. Every signature was in my handwriting. Then the lobby phone rang again. 3:00 a.m. I didn't pick it up. But this time, the receiver lifted itself. A voice, mine, warped and hollow, whispered, you left the door open. He's inside now. Behind me. I heard a breath, hot and wet on my neck. I turned and saw myself. Gaunt, pale, mouth split open wider than it should go, eyes full of static. He smiled, then vanished. The mirror behind the counter shattered. I don't know how long I've been here anymore. Days? Weeks? The calendar resets every morning. My clothes reappear clean on the dresser, even if I burn them. Food shows up in the fridge, rotten or fresh. It varies. Clyde doesn't return. His car is still in the parking lot, covered in moss. Guests still check in. They look normal at first, but they change. The longer they stay, the more wrong they become. Some don't even pretend anymore. They stare at the ceiling, mouths open, listening to things I can't hear. Others talk backwards, or in a language that hurts my ears. Point one. Guest tried to leave. Made it to the front door. She stepped out and immediately turned to stone. Crumbled before my eyes. The wind blew her ashes back inside. Room 6 returned 2 nights ago. The door was open. Inside was me, crying, holding Rachel's body, reliving the worst moment of my life. On a loop. She died again and again. I shut the door. It didn't lock. I hear voices in the vents now. They say my name. Over and over. Like a chant. Sometimes they argue. One says I deserve this. The other says I've been chosen. I don't know which is worse. Last night, I went to the laundry room. Found a new corridor behind the dryers. Wasn't there before. It led to a room filled with TVs, hundreds, all showing different versions of me in other places, other times, other lives. Point one showed me as a child, drowning in a motel pool. Another showed me slitting my wrists in room 3. Another showed me burning the place down. Laughing. I unplugged them all. They kept playing. I'm writing this because I don't know if I'll make it to next week. The motel's changing faster now. Rooms move. Doors lead to stairwells that spiral forever. Guests speak in riddles or scream at the ceiling. The man in red is getting closer. I see him in reflections. Watching. Smiling. Left a key on the desk tonight. A manager's KEY.IT has my name etched into the metal. There's a letter, too. Welcome to Red Pine, manager. The motel is now yours. The guests await. You'll never check out. The guests are lining up. They want to see me. They think I belong here now. And worst of all, I think they're right. I woke up standing at the front desk again. No memory of lying down. No memory of sleeping. My hands were resting on the counter, fingers slightly curled like I had just rung the bell. My breath fogged the cracked plexiglass. The lights were off, but it wasn't dark. The motel doesn't have a normal night anymore. Only that strange twilight that never quite ends that a new uniform hung on the back of the chair behind me. Fresh, folded, and wrapped in clear plastic. Manager stitched in red. That wasn't a title. It was a sentence that I should have run weeks ago. I should have tried harder when the road disappeared and the forest crept closer, 1 inch at a time. Now the trees are pressing against the windows, whispering things in the wind. Names, mostly. Sometimes my name. Sometimes Rachel's. And sometimes they say, "You opened the door." The guests are changing. They used to look like people, tired, road-worn, vacant-eyed travelers looking for shelter. But now their skin is too tight. Their teeth are too many. They smile too wide or not at all. Some float when they think I'm not looking. Some never blink. Room 8 cries constantly. Something in there is always weeping. Room 2 smells like chlorine and fire. Room 4 is empty, but the toilet flushes every 47 minutes. Exactly, room 0 no longer exists. Or it's in every room now that I've stopped knocking. The rulebook Clyde left behind burned itself 2 days ago. Literally burst into flames the moment I touched it. The ash is spelled, "We write our own rules now." Before scattering, at 1:15 a.m., a new guest checked in. This one looked different. Normal. Too normal. A young woman, mid-20s, wearing a windbreaker and jeans, backpack slung over one shoulder. No waxy skin. No twisted grin. She was pale, sure, but not in the wrong way. Her eyes held panic, not vacancy. "Is this the Red Pine Motel?" she asked, glancing over her shoulder. I think I got lost. My GPS went nuts, and you shouldn't be here," I said, cutting her off before I could think better of it. "I didn't mean to be," she said. I saw the lights. I haven't seen anything else for hours. My phone's dead." Of course it was that I almost turned her away. Almost, but she was shaking. Cold. Real so I gave her room 10 and warned her, "Lock the door. Don't open it. No matter what you hear." She hesitated. What am I going to hear? I didn't answer. She took the key. Her name in the logbook, Lena Morrison, that I watched her disappear into the hallway. And I prayed I didn't just sign her death certificate. That night, the motel groaned, like it was breathing heavier. Rooms stretched longer. Doors pulsed. One hallway split into 2, but rejoined itself by morning that I made my rounds. Flashlight in hand, key ring jingling like the world's weakest weapon. At 2:57 a.m., the phone rang. 3 minutes early, the lights didn't flicker this time. No smells. No strange static hum. I picked it up. My own voice, terrified, whispered, "She remembers you." Clicked out. I stared at the phone for a long time. Then the line rang again. This time, it was Rachel's voice. "You left me." I slammed the phone down. Then I heard something from room 10. Lena screaming. I sprinted down the hallway. My feet felt like they were sinking into the carpet, each step pulling me deeper. The air was thicker now, like breathing through soup. Screams echoed from every direction, but I kept following her voice. Room 10's door was open. I burst inside. The room had changed. No bed, no dresser, just a long, endless corridor stretching into darkness. The walls pulsed with veins. The floor was breathing. Lena stood 10 feet in, staring ahead. "Don't come in," she said without turning. "Lena, get out of there," I shouted. "He's showing me," she whispered. "He wants me to see what happened to them." "To who?" I asked, heart pounding. "The ones who checked out." She turned slowly. Her eyes were glowing blue, not lit. Glowing, like glass marbles filled with starlight. She took one step forward, and the corridor behind her collapsed like paper. Folding. "I know what this place is now," she said. "And I know why you're here." "What do you mean?" I asked, stepping back. "You never left." Her voice had 2 tones, one hers, one deeper. "You died here. Long ago. You just haven't accepted it yet." I shook my head. "That's not true, isn't it?" she asked. The floor under her feet cracked like glass. "You came here after Rachel died, hoping to disappear. But red pine doesn't let people disappear. It remembers. It makes sure everyone remembers. Who are you? I demanded. Lena's face changed, just for a moment. I saw Rachel in her. Then my mother. Then Clyde. Then myself. I'm the guest who never checked in, she said, and vanished. Room 10 slammed shut behind me. I unlocked it. Empty. Standard room again. Bed. Lamp. Nothing else. Lena's name in the registry was gone. I flipped back through the book. She was never there. N.O. Room 10. N.O. Lena Morrison. Except her backpack was still at the front desk. I opened it. Inside was a single photo of me, sitting behind the desk, smiling, wearing the manager uniform, the same photo that hung behind the desk now. Except in this one, there was someone else standing. Beside me, Rachel, alive. She was holding a room key. Room 13. The hallway twisted again. Room 13 was back. The walls leading to it were covered in photographs now. All of me, over decades. Different clothes. Different guests. Different years. One of them dated 1976. But I was born in 1989. At the door, the key in my pocket pulsed. I unlocked it. Inside was a lobby, identical to the one I stood in earlier. Behind the counter stood another me. Older, gaunter, eyes sunken. Fingers curled over the desk like claws. He looked up and smiled. I was wondering when I'd meet me again. What is this? I asked. This is your future, he said. Or your past. Depends which way the motel is turning today. I stepped closer. Why are you still here? Because we made a deal, he said. With who? His smile widened. Not who. Where? He gestured to the back wall. It opened like a mouth. Inside, a massive, pulsating heart. Made of hallways. Pumping guests through veins of corridors. Breathing rooms in and out. The motel was alive, and it was feeding. I've been keeping it alive, the older me said. Feeding it the lost. The broken. The ones who tried to disappear. I backed away. No, I said. I'm not you. You were me, he said. And soon, you will be again. That's how it works. The door slammed shut behind me. The lights went out. And then, the man in red walked in. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. I understood. Everything the moment he smiled. He was the motel's will, its mouthpiece, its puppet master, its keeper. He placed a key on the counter, room infinity, and whispered, "It's time." The heart pulsed faster behind him. The walls began to rot. The pictures melted. The air grew thick with static. I ran back into the hallway. Doors flew open as I passed, revealing versions of my own life. One where I died as a baby. One where I never met Rachel. One where I killed myself the night she died. One where I became the man in red. I ran faster until I reached the front desk again. It was clean, pristine. Morning sunlight filtering in through lace curtains. Clyde sat behind the desk, alive, smiling. "Morning, boss," he said. I blinked. The motel was normal again. Guests checked out. Cars drove past. Birds chirped. A newspaper lay on the counter. Dated June 12, 1971. Where am I? I asked. Home, Clyde said. Welcome to your first day. I tried to scream, but the bell rang, and the next guest walked in, holding a familiar backpack, and behind them, the man in red, smiling. The bell on the front desk echoed like a shot through my skull. Ding. I blinked. Again. Ding. This time, I heard my own voice say, "Welcome to the Red Pine Motel. 1 room or 2. But I wasn't the one speaking. I was watching from the hallway. Mirror, my reflection frozen, trapped behind the glass. At the counter stood another me. Clean uniform, neat hair, that artificial smile I'd grown to hate. Behind him, the lobby had reset, bright, cheerful, and fake, like a wax museum set up to impersonate reality. Across the counter was the guest, Rachel. She wasn't dead. Not here. She clutched a suitcase in one hand, eyes hollow and tired. Like she'd been traveling for centuries. Her mouth opened to speak, but the bell rang a third time, and suddenly, she was gone. I blinked again. Now I was standing behind the desk. I looked down at my hands. Old, wrinkled, the registry book in front of me had pages covered in my name, scribbled in frantic circles. A note was pinned beside it. Do not look into room infinity. Do not speak your name aloud after midnight. And above all, do not remember. But I did remember everything. Rachel, the crash, the forest that swallowed the roads, Clyde, Lena, the room that wasn't, Room 0, the keys. The deal. In that moment when I accepted the uniform. The Red Pine Motel isn't a building, it's a trap, a sentient place, stitched from grief, regret, and the choices we try to bury. Every guest is someone who lost something, or someone. They come looking for escape, for anonymity, for silence. Instead, they're devoured. Not physically, not all at once, but slowly. They forget themselves piece by piece, until the only thing left is their smile, their room, their number. Then the motel moves on. I started seeing the other versions of myself more clearly now. They wandered the halls at night. Some banged on the locked doors, bleeding from the eyes. Some sat in the laundry room, folding the same bloody sheets over and over. One paced outside room 6, muttering. If I had stayed with her, she wouldn't have died. I tried talking to them. They couldn't hear me, but they watched, especially the manager. He wore the oldest uniform, mustard yellow, torn at the collar, a black badge with no name. His eyes were hollow, his mouth sewn shut, and yet I could still hear his voice. That he was in the walls, in the buzz of the overhead lights, in the humming TV in room 3. He told me the truth. I never survived the accident. I died on the side of Highway 63, face down in a ditch, clutching Rachel's broken phone in my hand. And the Red Pine Motel found me before the ambulance did. It offered me a deal. Forget the pain. Forget the screams. Forget the way her body looked crushed into the dashboard. Forget your name, your past, your death. Be useful. Be the manager. I said yes. And I've been managing ever since, for years, decades, maybe longer, but now something's changing. The rooms have started collapsing, literally caving in. Walls breathing too fast. Carpets peeling back like skin. Doors bleeding from the hinges. Room 13 is split open like a mouth. It laughs when I pass. Room 6's door is now a mirror, and it blinks at me. Room Infinity is no longer locked. The door creaks open every night at 3 a.m. and shows possibilities. Lives I could have had. Children I could have raised. A version of me holding Rachel's hand on a porch somewhere far from this nightmare. But it's a lie. All of it. The motel gives glimpses of what it took, not what it can give back. 3 nights ago, Rachel checked in again. This time, she looked at me and said, "You don't belong here." I shook. She said it with eyes full of hate. "You left me to die." I tried to explain, to beg, but the walls ate my words. The phone rang. She picked it up, listened, and hung up without speaking. Then walked into room 0. I followed. I had to room 0 no longer pretended to be a room. It was a gallery of the damned. Every guest who ever vanished here stood along the walls, their mouths wide open in silent screams. Their skin was translucent, glowing from within. Their eyes were pure black. They weren't people anymore. They were memories burned into reality. Rachel stood in the center. "Do you see now?" she said, voice echoing from inside my own skull. "This place is a cage, but you locked it." "I didn't know," I whispered. "You did," she said. "You just didn't care." And then she reached into her chest and pulled out a key, solid black, with my name carved into it. She threw it to the floor. "It's time." I picked it up. The room shook. The ground beneath me split open, and I felt that I landed in the manager's office, the room I'd never seen before, because I wasn't meant to. It was infinite. The walls stretched beyond logic, filled with filing. Cabinets labeled with names of every soul who ever stayed. The ceiling was made of stars. The floor was blood. In the center stood a desk, empty, except for a mirror. When I looked in, I saw my corpse face down in the ditch, alone, cold, forgotten. That's when I screamed, the kind of scream that breaks time, the kind that makes mirrors bleed. And the motel listened. For the first time, the room stopped breathing. The doors went silent. The hallway shrank. The man in red burst into flame, wailing. The guests began to vanish, one by one, smiling as they went, like they were finally being released. And I felt it. The key in my hand glowed white. It didn't belong to a room. It belonged to the exit. I ran. Past every door, past every reflection, through the lobby, now crumbling to ash, through the hallway, now screaming with the voices of the dead. I ran until I reached the back wall, the one with no doors, no windows, and jammed the key into the plastered. It melted. A crack formed. Light spilled through. Not fluorescent, not flickering, sunlight, real, warm. alive. And then I heard her. Rachel, behind me. You can leave, she said. I turned. She was whole again. Alive. Tears in her eyes. But you have to let go of me, she said. I don't want to, I said. You already did. I stepped toward her. We embraced, and she whispered, tell them what this place is. Tell the world what it does. Then she faded, gently, peacefully, and I stepped into the light. 1 month later, they found me wandering the highway, near exit 9, covered in dirt, dressed in a uniform decades out of style, dehydrated, barely able to speak. I told them about the motel. They didn't believe me. There is no Red Pine Motel on any map. No record. No structure. Just a forest. Empty. Still. Silent. But I remember every scream, every door, every guest. And I won't forget again. If you ever drive past exit 9 and you see a flickering neon sign in the trees, keep driving. Because once you check in, you don't come out the same. If you come out at all.